Chest up, shoulders back. This is Revival Fitness, your home for gains and brains. And we're going to start this video by talking about this like everybody else is. By the way, if you are a fitness content creator, this is a perfect opportunity. Might be a little bit late past the window now. You can get very easy brownie points on social media. Let's do this together. This is unacceptable. This is terrible. I'm sure that Joey Swole is talking about it is never okay to put your hands on someone. I just saw a comment on Reddit. Look at this. Absolutely disgusting behavior. Jeff should totally press charges, which I believe that he did. The online fitness community should come together to denounce this abhorrent behavior, which they largely have. Listen, man, I'm not defending Mike. What he did was wrong, but the word disgusting, okay, it's not disgusting. It's immature. This guy was acting out. He got bothered by Jeff's response to his video. He has probably been irked by things that Jeff has said before. You know, people might say he's jealous because Jeff is a bigger name. All these other things, right? More accomplished in bodybuilding, I suppose. Whatever all these things might be. But to call this disgusting would be if Jeff suffered a major injury and it was like graphic. That would be disgusting. Like, bro, the way people exaggerate, and people are going to say that I'm defending Mike's actions here. I'm not. But can we go even 3 days without just this endless exaggeration of everything that happens all the time? But from what I saw, Mike basically goozled Jeff. I mean, if that qualifies as truly disgusting to you, I don't know what kind of petting zoo that you grew up in. I've seen people say he was punched in the throat. He had an open hand from what I saw. But Jeff posted on Instagram that he did it, pushed him down. Then Jeff stood back up. And then Mike said, "Don't talk about me again." Then he pushed him down again, which I guess was not captured on any video that I've seen. Then he pushed down his cameraman too. I think as of today, he was formally charged with assault and or battery. And I saw that Jeff got an MRI at a hospital after. I don't think he hit his head off of anything, but I guess he could have. And he had some marks on his neck. I mean, the Mike guy, I think I saw somewhere that he's like 6'4". He's a very big guy. And when you're in that position, you go after somebody like Jeff. Jeff does not come across as the type of guy who is going to ever instigate anything. I mean, even his immediate response after getting shoved down, he didn't jump back up on his feet and go with the guy or anything like that. I mean, Jeff is basically the personification of wouldn't hurt a fly. He seems very averse to any sort of violence. I would assume confrontation in general. So Jeff probably didn't think this guy was going to do anything. He also said on Instagram that when he first got to the gym, Mike brushed by him and said, something's about to be funny, because Jeff was kind of chuckling because they just had that online sort of cat and mouse game right before this happened. So I would assume, and I think most people would be like this too, you don't assume that someone's going to do something like this. That said, it is the gym environment. There are a lot of hotheads. You've got some guys on lots of gear. Maybe Mike recently upped his trendos. So there's a lot of online beef in the fitness world, as well as all these other niches as well. But I would say rarely does it turn into physical altercations. In this case, because these guys go to the same gym, this is in Canada too. We got some violence coming out of Canada. When does that happen? So I originally got some comments asking for my input on this. I wasn't sure what to say beyond like, oh, just don't do that to somebody. But I thought about it. There are some other narratives and sort of interlacing topics that we can discuss here. So Jeff just put this on Instagram the evening I'm recording this. This is a couple days after. He says, "Quick thing I'd like to say while people are paying attention. While the physical attack that happened to me is an extremely rare occurrence in gyms, over the past few days I have heard several stories from other people who have been bullied or assaulted at their gym in numerous types of ways. This behavior prevents people from bettering themselves and improving their health. If you are a regular at your gym or a gym owner, now would be a great time to take a stand against bullying of any kind. Every single person, regardless of their body size or physical strength, should feel safe and welcome in the gym. Also, every gym has at least one so-called big guy. Almost every big guy I know is a good person. I'm sure big guys already know this, but people find you intimidating. Even a simple smile toward new members can do a lot, and it will only make them respect you even more. Thank you again for all the support the past few days. You guys are the best. And if you have any other suggestions to make gyms a more safe and inviting place, feel free to share so gym owners can take notes. Okay, I'm probably going to get flack for this. This reads like it's right from a politician or some corporation when something happens. I mean, let's just go through this really quickly. This is a great time to take a stand against bullying of any kind. Okay, sure, we've heard that for a number of years now, the whole stand up to bullying campaigns, all kinds of administrations, companies, sports leagues, the WWE, all these brands have some initiative against bullying. That really got brought to the forefront, I would say, whenever I was a kid. That's basically when the shift happened from, oh, if you're getting bullied, just stand up for yourself, punch the bully right back. Then it became like, oh, the whole school needs seminars about bullying and all these resources, all this mental health stuff. So, I mean, that's a nice sentiment, but realistically, man, I mean, take a stand against bullying. How? What? If you see somebody getting bullied, walk up and stop them? I mean, say somebody else was in the gym whenever this happened to Jeff. I'm not sure if any other people even saw it. I guess the gym was relatively empty, but what, somebody comes over and pushes Mike away or tells him to stop? Like, I just don't get these really generic, broad statements like that. Take a stand against bullying. It's like, okay. I mean, mind you, too, there are security cameras everywhere now. If you're in any public place, gym, school, work, even public streets, there's security cameras, man. Like, if somebody is physically bullying somebody, now, if it's more like verbal, that's harder to detect, I suppose, but physical bullying, man, I mean, it's very hard to get away with this type of thing today, so I don't know. Again, I know people are going to get mad at me for this, but this statement is just such, like, empty public relations speak. Then he says some of the big guys that are intimidating can smile at the members. Once again, what does that do? I mean, this guy, Mike, for example, could smile at a new member. He's like, hey, how's it going? Then he could also still hurt Jeff. He could hurt the member. I mean, from that vantage point, too, why don't all of the members smile at each other? Why don't the small members smile at the other members as well, right? Like, why doesn't everybody smile? And that goes on to his last sentence here. If you have any other suggestions how to make gyms a more safe and inviting place. Okay, we're talking like Planet Fitness now, man. Safe and inviting? Bro, how much more safe and inviting can these gyms be? I mean, safe, again, unless you want to put freaking metal detectors at the front door to make sure nobody has a weapon. Or, I mean, what, are you going to, like, give people a questionnaire, like, are you angry at anybody in this facility? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking just practically, tangibly, how are you going to make gyms more safe overall? I believe Mike has been formally banned from this gym. That's about as much as you can do to make the gym safer. If somebody does something like this, you have a record of it. I used to work at a gym. Every member has a little profile for themselves, so if they get involved in altercations like this, you can notate that down. Like, we gave him a warning, he got into a fight, whatever happened. So him getting banned from the gym makes perfect sense. You cannot keep somebody around once they do something like this. But beyond that, how are you going to make the gyms more safe and inviting? I mean, what, are you going to ban scary-looking guys? Because the Mike guy is so-called scary-looking. He's tall, he's jacked, clearly roided up, he's covered in tattoos. Are you going to say those people can't go there? Are you going to ban people that have, like, gold teeth and grills? Are you going to ban people that shadow box? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, just making gyms more inviting. I mean, dude, you go to a gym, you pay the fees, you're a member of the gym, you just show up during whatever hours that you want to go to, or that they're open. Dude, this type of language is just so empty. It bothers me, and I don't dislike Jeff, but this type of stuff, you know, it's just pointless. You could have the most so-called inviting gym in the world. Somebody could still get assaulted there. Like, this just doesn't do anything. And that goes on to the next point, because we were just talking about, in my recent C-Bum video, all of the guys that are obsessed with fighting. Anytime you bring up physique in the gym, they always turn it into, but can you fight? But can he fight? But could he beat this guy in a fight? This scenario that Jeff was in, this is the fantasy of those fighting guys. You have the big, angry, roided up guy, the juice head, right? And he does something that warrants physical confrontation. Like I said, Jeff is not the type of guy who's going to physically respond, and he did not. I mean, Jeff is a very gentle dude from everything I can tell. These fighting guys, man, I mean, they must have been licking their chops watching this video, because you got the absolute green light that you've always wanted to show off your fighting skills and go after the big guy. I don't know if Mike is trained in fighting formally. I think I heard he used to be a bodyguard. But this is the dream scenario for those guys. That's another aspect too, because I think Mike is almost a full foot taller than Jeff. And Jeff is big. He's been training for many, many years. But you could have a guy that's less muscular than Jeff, even roughly the same height or so. If they're very skilled at fighting, they may be able to wrap the guy up like a snake pretty quickly. You know what I mean? So there's these aspects that come with it. I guess we're not going to know what's going to happen there. But I'm sure that Mike knew, or I guess he didn't know, but he had a pretty educated guess that Jeff is not going to do anything in retaliation, at least in the moment. And he was proven right. But he did take the legal ramification, and that's what's going to really hurt. So I don't know if Mike is going to serve a lot of jail time. I don't know if he has a lot of money. He might. I think he has a pretty big following, so maybe he can get out on bail or something like that. And I'm sure his credibility is going to take a massive blow because of this. This is one of those things where he may never fully recover. Even if he comes out and does the apology and is like, I didn't think it through, I was too emotional, whatever it's going to be, whether it's sincere or not, right? A lot of people are going to just write this guy off forever because of this. Maybe he did this intentionally in that sense. Like maybe he's one of these guys where he's like, I will take all the negative attention. I don't care. He might be in the position where he's got enough money to be able to do that and end up being okay. But that's the biggest problem because he made a video, Jeff made a video, and Jeff was, very cordial, just very calm like he always is. He didn't say anything really inflammatory, and he was not confrontational at all. And then Mike just snapped on him. So this is not a good look for Mike. You have to keep in mind, though, there is always going to be that more hard-ass, if you want to call them that, demographic of guys in general, but especially in the gym scene. Some of them will probably applaud him for what he did because they get pissed off by guys like Nippard, and their response would basically be, well, you still got punked. What can you do about it? But this is something I've talked about before, too. I mean, the fitness scene now is filled and essentially ran by nerds. Regardless of all of the general information and the shift to the science, which we'll talk about coming up in a moment, that's probably the biggest overall change in the fitness scene in the past decade or so. It used to be essentially ran by, and the biggest names were professional bodybuilders, just the biggest dudes in general. Oftentimes, they were tougher guys. I know that's a broad term, but you kind of catch what I'm saying. They were just kind of dudes who would cut up, go to the gym, train hard, go out to eat. They have their girlfriends, their cars, all this other stuff. The Trend Twins are kind of like that now. They fit that more old school profile of what online fitness used to be a number of years ago, kind of like Rich Piana in a way. You go to now, and it's just revenge of the nerds. It's just dorks everywhere, really soft-spoken. Everything has to be like this big formal written paper. You could almost look at Mike's assault on Jeff as sort of like the final breath of the old school fitness content generation. Because even now, like the biggest and strongest dudes, the more tough, macho-looking guys, a lot of them are still very science-based, and they're nerdy, and they're soft-spoken with their soft voices that don't match their physiques and all this other stuff. I mean, dude, Chris Bumstead is like the Giga Chad meme come to life, and he talks like this. Well, I guess to be fair, Ronnie Coleman also had a voice that does not match his physique. But that's simply the trend now, man. I mean, the gym has become the modern-day hobby of choice. It is the sanctuary now for the anime dorks and the people that were not really serious athletes, if athletes at all. They go into the gym now, and you can optimize hypertrophy and looks max and improve your confidence. And of course, you can make a bunch of rehashed, redundant, terribly boring content, and you'll still somehow get views from other gym cells. And that goes to the final topic here, which is so-called science-based itself. Because that was the nucleus of this entire situation. And I've gotten flack from JPG Coaching even. Me and him had a whole exchange on Instagram over this. I made a video about it. This is what I have asked. For all of the science-based, research-based, evidence-based, so-called optimal content, why don't we see at any level, I'm talking general recreational lifters, amateur bodybuilders up to pro bodybuilders, powerlifters, claiming natural, enhanced, whatever it's going to be, why don't we see widespread the so-called optimal science-based guys having superior results? I just don't see it. I'm not saying there's no successful people that follow that so-called approach, but there's just as many people that follow the so-called less optimal approach and they do just as well or even better. And to compound things even further, what does science-based, evidence-based, research-based really mean? Because you have all these people now that claim that. I mean, it is the #1 marketing thing in the fitness industry now. Pretty much nobody now makes a brand in fitness without leaning on those things. And certain people may push against that. I've said the tide is sort of turning. Sam Sulek, in my estimation, is one of the big players in that regard. He lifts in a pretty old school style. He's not concerned about the science and the studies and all these other things, and he's extremely popular. But even so, you have all these people that claim that they are so-called based in all of these fields. They can't even agree on very basic principles. They will go into diatribes and write short novels and comment sections and make all these videos about each other, talking about basic movements and volume and intensity and frequency and all these other things. Then a new study comes out and that supersedes what they were just talking about 2 months ago. Then another study comes out that supersedes the last thing. Then a new meta-analysis of a meta-analysis comes out, and that is now the gospel truth. And everything is just always changing, and you have guys in these different camps. So when it comes to so-called evidence-based, science-based, research-based, and optimal itself, how do we even define what that is? Because you can find whatever you want to be true in the science. You can find research papers that validate this opinion, then another opinion. You can find these things all day. I mean, exercise science in general, most of the time, and this is just the nature of it, I mean, you cannot lock tons of people in labs long-term and control all these variables. It's really weak science, ultimately. I mean, a lot of this stuff is basically guesswork. And all these guys will say, oh, but the meta-analysis shows, and it's a meta-analysis of a ton of studies that are weak to begin with. So it's like a big pile of crap compiled by tiny pieces of crap. And that's what's really hilarious, because everybody has the same arguments against the other side, but then it doesn't apply to them. So one side of the science-based crowd will be like, oh, the meta-analysis that the other side said, it's bullcrap. It's a bunch of junk studies. It doesn't mean anything. And then the other side will be like, well, actually, your meta-analysis is a bunch of crap. Same thing with the appeal to authority fallacy. Everybody talks about, oh, well, PhDs and credentials, they don't mean anything. Anybody can be wrong until it's someone on their side. Then it's like, oh, well, we have this PhD and this master's degree and this other PhD. Then all of a sudden the credentials, it's like, see, well, he has these credentials. He must know, right? Same thing with the physiques too. I mean, people have full videos about, oh, physique does not equal knowledge, especially the biggest guys. It's always, oh, it's all the steroids doing the work. They can do anything and make progress. Everybody talks about, oh, the physiques do not equal knowledge. Then when the debates come up, oh, but he looks better than you, bro. And that might be the very best part about it. A lot of these people that are so-called science-based, they don't actually even read the science. They may read the title of a paper, maybe the abstract, maybe the conclusion, that's it. They are not digging into the nitty-gritty details, which is what actually matters. The methodologies of these studies, that's why so many of them don't really amount to anything. But they just parrot what they hear. They see some other science-based guy with the letters after the name say this, and now they say it. You can see this on social media all the time if you pay attention. One of the big accounts that is so-called science-based will say something. A week or two later, all these other little accounts, it's like trickle-down economics, they start talking about it too. And then it just gradually spreads until the next thing comes out, then they just start parroting that too. And then the big names will get into it on social media. They might get into pissing contests. Sometimes they'll do formal debates. Oftentimes they're poorly moderated. And most people going into these debates, they're not actually there to learn or try to open their perspective. They just want to be validated. So their guy is always right, the other guy's always wrong. This thing is a crapshoot. No matter how much people act like it, especially just general people in the comment section, even the ones that make the content with the credentials, people are not sitting down panning through all of these studies line by line. But as long as you've got that PubMed ID in the title and someone can go down to the conclusion, not knowing anything else, you've won the argument, at least for now. But this has been it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Share this with somebody that would benefit from seeing it. Grab your training program and my nutrition guide down below. Stop wasting time in the gym and in the kitchen and get the body you want faster. And if you want to get in direct contact with me, the best way to do so is on Patreon. You also get lifetime access to our Discord server there, and you can fill out the coaching questionnaire and use my links to save money on some great products and services. And I will catch you guys next time.